Before we start, I am going to be doing a signing, a book signing of my new book, The Beauty of Posture, and you are all going to get a copy free of charge. So you're in the right place at the right time.
Wow.
Okay, so I introduced a sort of flexibility mobility program some 20 years ago to Hong Kong, set up a company here called Stretch, and now with Motion Dynamics we're in the mode of teaching and training and implementing, if you like, mobility work into everyday lifestyle, if you like. So it's very important for you to understand why we do what we do. I'm sure some of you today have got your own postural issues, and some of you today have got some niggly things going on with your body. I don't like to use the word pain, so I like to use the word irritation, perhaps, or discomfort, perhaps. But the whole project is very exciting because, in essence, we realize today through this inactivity physiology, which is a new branch of physical therapy, that there are so many dangers, some of them lethal dangers, of sitting for long periods of time. We're talking about 6 hours or more a day over a period of several months, causing your body to go into sort of almost like a collapse mode. And we work here at an eye very much on the physical therapy aspect of sitting and standing. What difference is it to the intervertebral disc, to your muscles, to your brain power, to your, let's say, circulation? And how many different forms of circulation do you think we have? Can anybody think of all the different types of circulations? Let's just try and figure out what's the most important circulation system that we have.
Blood.
Blood, arterial flow. So that's one separate circulatory system. Good. What's the next one?
Air.
You could say air because, of course, it's about oxygen. I think that's a very valid point. Yes, let's have another one.
Limbic.
Lymph, absolutely. That's your sewage system. So we need to keep that in mind as we'll talk a little bit about lymph and how important that is for people who spend an inordinate amount of time sitting. Think of DVT or deep vein thrombosis. That's coming back with a vengeance. It used to be something you only heard about on aeroplanes, but now we're hearing about it from people that spend a lot of time sitting in their offices. The other thing is venous return. Venous return is the used blood, and that turns into carbon dioxide, and we blow it straight out of our lungs. What about water as a separate circulatory system? We shouldn't forget water because our body is made up of what? 70–80% water? Some people think it's more. So the point is this, that is a circulation that sometimes, because of tension, because of resistance, because of compression, this sort of compacted nature of sitting down for long periods of time, water does not flow very well. Water takes the path of the least resistance. So if you have resistance in the soft tissue, resistance in the joint structures, resistance in the connective tissue structures, and if you don't know what it is, you can always ask later on, I would say your circulation is going to be hampered. So we need to think about circulation as an extremely important aspect of getting everybody to stand again. So let's just talk about some of the compression forces on our body when we sit. And I was just reading, actually, it was Chris that gave me the inspiration to look this up. And some of the stuff is absolutely staggering. We're talking about when we sit, placing 140 kilograms, and you're sitting correctly, on your spinal intravertebral disc, actually intra-disc pressure of 140 kilograms, massive. But most of the time when we're not sitting correctly, no, I'm not looking at anyone in particular, when we're not sitting correctly, it can be up to 200 times our body weight on those intravertebral discs. This is a huge, huge burden for the long term. Now, at our age, we're not likely to get disc issues because we're too young and we're too bouncy, we're too pliable, we're too efficient in the way we recover. But as we get to the magic age of 50 plus, we start to change, right? Our metabolic rate changes, the way we flush out, the way we uptake oxygen changes, and the way we move changes. So we have to be very, very conscious that sitting is destructive to our intervertebral disc. Did you know that the disc is the only part of the spine or the anatomy that has no independent blood supply. It's filled with water and a sort of like a toothpaste nucleus and also hyaluronic acid. That's all it is. So it has no blood supply. So if you sit for long periods of time, what do you think is going to happen to the fluid in those discs? It's going to get dry, right? And that's what happens to this. They start to crumble and they become degenerated, which means they become flattened, they lose their integrity. And this is something we should prevent, because you can't go to a shop and buy another disc, correct?
Yeah.
I think you can make one because I've seen you making things in here, but you can't, all right? So let's go back to my bag, my speciality, which is flexibility and mobility. My job is to locate and let you understand where your tissue tension is at its greatest. So we have this thing called tilt, torque, and rotation, all the way through our body landmarks. So it's very important to understand that if you are, let's say, more than 1/8 of an inch out of alignment in tilt, torque, and rotation, you are going to be compensating, because the body does that extremely well. Compensation means that you will be overusing certain tissues and underutilizing others. It's a classic case of muscular imbalances. Muscular imbalances mean that some muscles are working harder than they need to, and others that are designed to hold you up aren't working at all. Has anybody in this room heard of something called gluteal amnesia? Where your bottom muscles, called the gluteus maximus, gluteus medius minimus, the gluteal muscles in total, they actually, after 50 minutes of sitting, electrically and piezoelectrically, they actually switch off. When that muscle is switched off, it goes dormant. It becomes lazy. And when it's lazy, guess what? It stops being a supporter, a stabilizer of your spine. The glute max connects the leg to the back. This is supposedly one of the most powerful muscles you have in your entire body. If you turn that muscle off by sitting on a desk for more than 50 minutes or 45 minutes, if you listen to Judith Aston, the lady that's the ergonomic specialist in America, she says 45 to 47 minutes, you've got to get up and move. If you don't, you're likely to miss out on that very important support mechanism for your lower back. Where do most people who sit get most of their pain? Lower back, right? Lumbar spine. That's where majority, and I'm sure Kieran would agree with me, the majority of people that come and see us or him, the physios, they tend to get lower back compression issues because they lack support, not just from the weight of the pressure of your body and the pressure of gravity. Does anybody know how much gravity weighs? Could you give me a little bit of an idea how much gravity weighs? Because you are now experiencing gravity right now as we speak. How much does it weigh? 9.81. It's 1 kilogram per square centimeter or 15 pounds per square inch. If you look at that as a general amount of weight, it's about 2,000 pounds of weight on your body at any given time. We need to be strong, right? To be able to cope with gravity. We need to be really strong. So there is a pressure from gravity, not just external, but an internal pressure. We would not be able to breathe, we would not be able to circulate, we would not be able to pump our hearts, and we would not be able to digest if it weren't for gravity. But how we distribute our weight against gravity, that's what postural training is. Corrected postural training is about distribution of the weight of your body, left, right, front, back, against that downward force of gravity. 15 pounds a square inch. Just remember that. That's a lot of weight. So if you are standing incorrectly, I can't do it. If you're standing incorrectly, I promise you it won't take long before somewhere it will start to complain. Now, I'm the big fan of understanding this, and if you can remember this, this is really cool. Your body is consistently talking to you internally and externally. You're feeling things all around you. And I think we need to learn to listen to those things. If you have something niggly going on, something inside you is telling you that something's not right. So we have to find a way to rejiggle and to get ourselves back on track again. And I'm going to give you a few tips. It means standing up, everybody, please. And before we actually do this little standing exercise, I want you to all show me, not Kieran, show me where your center of mass is. Just point to it right now, I'm going to watch you. Right, put your finger on the point where you think your center of mass is in your body. Because everybody's got a center of mass. All right, one there. Yuso, where's your center of mass? Place your hand on it. Okay, yes, madam. What about you? Right there. Okay, center of mass. Yes, center of mass. Right. 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 Right, 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 right. Okay, I'm going to shock you here, guys, because not one of you has managed to get it right. No problem, don't worry, because you're here to learn. So let me just show you. I'm going to put my finger in the middle of this triangular bone down here. Let me take the papers out. Those were my notes. And I'm going to place my finger right there. It's called S2. And I'm going to place my other finger right there. Between those 2 points is your center of mass. Now, why is the center of mass important? Because all movement stems from that point. Whether I'm rotating, whether I'm flexing, whether I'm extending, whether I'm doing whatever it is, laterally flexing, I need to move from there. If you start moving from here, guess what you're going to overload? An already overloaded lumbar spine, and I won't be able to bend forward anymore. So we have to learn to move differently. So place your hand here on the sacrum. Place your hand there. Place your hand on the front. All right? Bend your knees slightly, and now move forward from this point, center of mass. Move forward. It's different, isn't it? And unlock your knees, please, because you have your knees locked, it's going to put a massive amount of strain through your back. So you need to do this with slightly soft knees, because you're not here, it's not a competition, it's just trying to show you. Now rotate to one side. Rotate from your center of mass. Quite different, right? So we need to learn how to move intelligently and symmetrically and correctly, right? Because in the end, it's going to come back and bite you in the you-know-where, right? All right, so the next thing we're going to do is to show you a little bit. This is an awareness exercise. I'm glad you're all standing. So I want you to rock back and forth, heel to toe. And I want you to think that the heel is where your whole body is being grounded through. It's like roots coming out. So I want you to come back on the heel, and I want you to ground yourself through that. Now I want you to rock right to left, right to left. Now find that nice little sweet spot halfway between the 2 points, so that you're distributing the weight evenly, in your terms, evenly between the 2 sides. So I'm on my heels, I'm distributed evenly between the 2 sides. Now watch me in my pelvis. So my pelvis tilts this way, backwards, tilts this way, forwards. I want a nice halfway house. That's my halfway house. So I know that if I was to wear a belt, that would be parallel to the floor. You might need to slightly engage your core muscles in here, your lower abdominal muscles, just to maintain that structure. This is what the PLA do when they're guarding their barracks. This is what the Queen's Guards do when they're guarding the Buckingham Palace. They learn how to stand for 5 hours a day, which is what you're going to be doing with your standing desk. You may only be able to do half an hour at a time, because you're going to have to learn how to use muscles differently. So now we've got our knees slightly soft, so make sure your knees are slightly soft. They bend a little bit. You're engaged here. I'm on my heels. I've got that nice left-right balance. Now I want to look at the sternum. This is the breastplate. Just underneath here is my heart. So I want to raise the sternum ½ an inch. My sternum is slightly extended. There are muscles that flex and extend the sternum. I want my sternum to be up, because I want to have an expanded chest. If you have an expanded chest, you can do what? Breathe better and take in more oxygen. And hopefully you can distribute that better through the system. My shoulders, place your hand on the shoulders. My shoulders are at their widest point. I don't want it back here. I don't want to retract it. I just want the shoulders wide. and I want them slightly down. I want my hands by the side, and my elbows are going to be nice and soft at a 90-degree angle. And I'm going to have my chin so it's parallel to the floor. My chin is now parallel to the floor. I'm not up here somewhere. I'm not down there somewhere, which is what most people do when they do this. I'm parallel to the floor. So if you take your fist, you want to see what parallel to the floor is, place your chin right on the fist and then remove it. That's how you check into yourself. Wide, down, and up. And you should be able to, in this position, use the 320 postural muscles that we have to hold yourself upright against the downward forces of gravity. Now, if you start getting tired, because you can rock back and forth, there's no such thing as a static posture. Your posture is continuously moving and shifting because of whatever it is. It's the way the muscles work. Your muscles are actually very active in trying to keep you in this position. It's sort of the proprioception. It's the sixth sense that you have. So it's very important to understand that there's no such thing as a static posture. If you decide you're getting a little bit uncomfortable, this is what I'm going to suggest you do. You have a tiny little stool next to you, and you're going to place your foot up on that stool. You're still in that position, and you're going to be taking a bit of pressure off one side. So you could have a little bit on either side. You could just take a little bit of pressure off there. My back is still straight. I've maintained a proper curve in my spine. We have 4 curves in the spine. We need to maintain that lower lumbar curve, because when you sit for long periods of time, you lose it. And when you lose it, you're going to get what we call a D curve. Instead of having a nice C curve, you're going to get a D curve in your back. And you're going to overstretch and create trauma to those very ligamental structures that try to hold you upright in that natural position. So sitting can be terribly destructive for your back, because it teaches those ligaments bad habits, and they become dry and they become very stiff. And it's the stiffness that tends to cause a lot of issues, because a lot of these back pains are what we call non-specific. But you can bet your bottom dollar those ligaments are going to come out and bite you back really hard. So this is a great way to exercise your body whilst you're standing. Standing is a great exercise if you do it correctly. Those people that carry shopping bags just on one arm like this, that's not a good exercise. If you're going to carry shopping bags, you want to get the even amount on both sides. Not a problem, great exercise. But the moment you start to tip to one side, how much pressure from gravity plus the weight of your own body are you putting on those poor little lumbar structures, plus the shoulder, plus the foot and everything else? So take a seat, because that's a great little exercise for you guys to learn to stand properly. Some of you have already got quite a lot of forward head posture. A forward head posture is this. You're doing this for a long time. These muscles have become short, tight, and restricted. And the muscles in the back have become weakened because you've been in the wrong position. And the problem is, gravity doesn't stop bearing down on you. It will continue to bear down, it will continue to force you to go forward. So, do take a seat. Right. So, is there anybody that would like to ask? Because I mean, you just had that experience. Is that difficult for you to stand like that? Because the problem here is we're going to have to relearn how to use our body against gravity when we start to stand for long periods of time. But standing should be natural, right? I stand all day long. I don't sit much because that's my job. And when I'm bending over people doing my stuff, I have to keep my back straight. So I have to be very aware of good body mechanics. You also need to be aware of good body mechanics, because one of these days, yes sir?
How do you know you're standing correctly? Is it the way you feel? Is it by visual checking? Or is it because you're just not in pain?
That's an extremely good question. I think that you should feel balanced. Yes, I think the feelings, after all, we're all about feelings, right? We have 5 senses, and those 5 senses are very important. I think also, if you have any niggly aches and pains, especially from standing for a period of time, you know that you're probably overworking and overloading certain tissues, right? It could be in the foot, it could be the foot arches, it could be gripping in the toes. Those people that have been used to leaning forward like this for all those years, they have toes that are like hammers, right? They've actually become like that. Your body adapts very quickly to the loads that you place upon them. So it's an amazing thing. So when you have to go back into a new position, you have to relearn how to stand. You have to relearn to use these muscles in the back to your favor. These are postural muscles. They hold you upright against gravity. So they better be strong, all right? So you are going to have to do some bits of training to get yourself strong again. You need to be fit to stand correctly. And if you're not standing correctly, you're not having the support, the inherent support that you need to be able to stand for long periods of time. So it's an adjustment. And that's what we're here to do with Kieran and myself, to help you guys understand there are some key areas. Most of what I would say is the rear part of your body contains most of your postural muscles. I'm just being very superficial here, and Kieran has probably a lot better understanding of how that works. But most of the muscles in the front tend to be more about movement. They're the prime movers, and therefore, you know, we would need to keep these nicely lengthened. These, you know, the pecs, when the arms go forward like this, we need to keep those well stretched, and that's an easy thing to do. You can do that once or twice a day. You can do it in your office desk. Let's show you how easy it is to stretch the pectoralis muscles, because I'll demonstrate it first, then I'll get you to practice it, because all you need is a ball like this. This is how easy it is. My hand is behind my head. My arm is being, this is called horizontal abduction, so I'm abducting horizontally my shoulder. That's my barrier. I can't go any further than that. I could be here all day long. I'm not really stretching anything. But as I go forward and I place my elbow onto a board, now I'm stretching it. And then I'm going to come back and relax it in between. I've just utilized the muscles in the back, turning them on to allow them to start moving this shoulder in its rightful plane of motion, right? So there we are, just two. And you could just get away with doing 2 or 3 of those on either side. And you find another board somewhere else, here we are on this side, and do the same on the right side. I'm right dominant, so I need to do more on my right side. And if you feel a little bit of irritation, if you feel a little bit of tension there, then do it until you feel comfortable. So that's a very simple thing you can do just to keep your shoulders wide, because some of you are going to want to do this. We need to turn on the muscles in the back that support this upright position, and you won't get into trouble. The only part of your shoulder that's attached to the spine is this point here, where the collarbone meets the sternum. So naturally, when the shoulders come forward, the head must come forward. So it's imperative that we get the shoulders back in order to get the head back. So if that makes sense to you guys, because you're engineers and designers and stuff, if that makes sense, then just go ahead and do it. All you need to do it is do it once a day. You bend, extend, you reach and rotate once a day through as many different joints as you possibly can. Any questions? Because I know the time is getting short. Any questions here? And I need to sign your books. If you've got any questions about what I'm saying about posture, the importance of posture, posture for function, posture for elimination, posture for breathing, posture for all sorts of aspects on the biochemical level, right? And importantly, circulation. That's, for me, the biggest reason why we do this, to increase circulation, to increase oxygen uptake, and to increase lymphatic drainage. 3 litres of lymph, by the way, in the system, 3 litres, and that's a sluggish system that needs movement, and obviously when you stand, you're burning a lot more calories, you use your muscles a lot more effectively when you stand than when you sit, because everything's working. I'm distributing the weight of gravity, the weight of my body through all of my musculoskeletal structures, not just here where it finishes in my lumbar spine. There's nowhere else for it to go. This is dormant. This is not doing anything. 50 minutes is the cutoff point. If you sit, you've got to get up after 50 minutes, otherwise you will become deficient in the muscles that you are sitting upon. I hope that's been useful for you. I will be here to sign some books. I just need you to come up and give me your name, and then I can sign it. Hope you enjoy it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Chris. Yeah, So you'll be here for a little
Yes,
while?
yes,
Yeah.
I am.
So if you have any questions, Chris will be at the back outside his program. So next time, if